Good afternoon. I'm Bob Redding. I'm the Automotive Service Association's Washington, D.C. lobbyist, and welcome. We are about 2 blocks from the United States Capitol, where last night I'm sure everybody was up late watching the president's speech and all of the follow-up interviews. There's a lot going on here in Washington and also for automotive repairs at the state level. So we're going to walk through today a little bit about what's important for us at the federal level and then the state level. I'd like to first, just a brief look at last night in the State of the Union speech. The president did mention transportation infrastructure. Infrastructure will be a big issue. Committee meetings have already started in the House, and we look for this to happen in the Senate very, very soon in the next week or so. As you may know, and I'm going to set the table here at the federal level first. Last year, the House Energy and Commerce Committee passed the Self-Drive Act, which really addressed many of the new vehicle technologies, autonomous vehicles, and how states and the federal government should interact as far as the regulatory environment, research, deployment of these vehicles. The bill passed overwhelmingly in the House of Representatives, and then the Senate Commerce Committee, with a very similar companion legislation called the AV, Autonomous Vehicles START Act, passed their bill. Now, this is where this gets interesting. In the United States Senate Commerce Committee, U.S. Senator Jim Inhofe of Oklahoma attached an amendment that really helped address many of the stakeholder and cybersecurity issues that independent automotive repairers are going to face. And we're already seeing this somewhat, particularly on the collision side. Senator Inhofe's amendment established a stakeholder group at the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, working with the Federal Trade Commission. So for a stakeholder group, this means that automotive repairers, aftermarket distributors, insurers, and many others would have a seat at the table over a period of time to dialogue, discuss with federal regulators what their needs were relative to data access and cybersecurity. We were very pleased with this amendment. ASA supported it, but unfortunately the bill never got to the Senate floor. So no action at the end of the 115th Congress or in December of 2018. So what does that mean for me? We start all over again. So we look for federal legislation to be dropped in soon here in Washington relative to autonomous vehicles, but also probably separately related to data access and cybersecurity. So this is a big deal that we begin again. And don't forget, there are a lot of changes here in Washington, particularly in the Congress after the November elections. Specifically, the House flipped from Republican to Democrat. So every committee chairman, every ranking member changes, subcommittee chairs change, leadership changes, priorities change. So in this new beginning, this will entail a lot of changes as far as public policy offerings as we move forward. ASA on these issues maintains at the relative to the federal activity. We're members of numerous aftermarket groups dealing with telematics and new vehicle technologies, data access and cybersecurity, but also some broader industry groups that include automakers, insurance companies, all types of nonprofits, rideshare organizations, rental car companies, etc. And our goal has been to be part of the process, to learn, to share with our members and our leadership, and to make sure that we're at the table when a lot of decisions are made. And particularly in Washington, one of the first rules I learned working on Capitol Hill was that if you're not at the table, you're very likely to be on the menu. So I want to stress, we want to be in the room when these decisions are made, and ASA is in the room. At the state level, we're going to do a variety of bills here, and this is a snapshot of what we're seeing now as the 2019 state sessions are picking up. Specifically, let's look at Missouri first. Missouri has one of the premier PMVI or vehicle safety and state vehicle and safety inspection programs in the nation. ASA, through regional conferences, through meetings that we've partnered with the motor vehicle administrators, new car dealers, other aftermarket organizations, law enforcement. We've used Missouri as the template, as the program that we would like to see other states follow. And there are other great programs in the country. Pennsylvania is also a very, very strong vehicle safety program at the state level. Every year, almost every year, this isn't an overstatement, the Missouri vehicle safety and program is attacked in the state legislature. Last year, we worked hard to fight House Bill 1444, and we're able, with our industry partners and our friends, to stop that legislation from moving forward. Unfortunately, we've seen the bill reintroduced, House Bill 451, this year, and we're opposed to this legislation, and we need to stop it. And working with our industry partners, we hope we'll be able to do that. Now, important for this discussion is that only 15 states in the United States have state vehicle inspection programs. We've lost in the last few years program in District of Columbia, New Jersey, Mississippi, and we've had as many as 30 some odd programs going back a number of years ago. So this is a very frustrating. We believe these programs are invaluable to protecting the motoring public. Our shops and techs see, particularly during a down economy we experienced during the last recession, that consumers would come in for, say, an oil change. Our techs would notice that there were issues with the brakes or tires or windshield cracks, and yet they're reluctant to get them repaired without some mandated state program that says you've got to repair that car to have your sticker renewed. So ASA would like to protect the 15 programs, excuse me, in play today, and we would like to see these programs enhanced and expanded to other states. For this discussion, and we saw this come up during the AV debate, was that many, particularly U.S. senators, were concerned about autonomous vehicles and the safety issue. If these cars are not owned by the consumer, where's the responsibility? Who's looking at this vehicle? What professional is looking at this vehicle on a regular basis to make sure they're safe? So as part of the ongoing new technologies, ASA would like to see these mandated programs grow numerically in the states. The other piece that's critically important, many responsible independent repairers on their own without any state safety program, without any mandatory recall education program with their customers, with consumers. When the vehicle's brought in, they look up the vehicle and notify the consumer or vehicle owner about any safety recalls. With a state vehicle inspection program, this is certainly a piece that could be wrapped into that as far as consumer education. We saw the Takata airbags and the lag in information flow on the airbag recall, the lag in repairs. This would have been of immense benefit to consumers to have independent repairers engaging with the consumers as far as airbag recall information through the vehicle inspection programs. I'd like to move on to Massachusetts. Many of you know in 2013 we saw, and in previous years, right to repair activity in the state of Massachusetts, and honestly in 6 other states, and for about a dozen years at the federal level with legislation introduced that did not go forward. We now have a bill that was dropped in towards the end of 2018 in Massachusetts and reintroduced with changes in 2019. Now, this bill in Massachusetts touches on telematics, expands the right to repair provisions of 2013, and includes some data access provisions. And I want to show you something. This is one of the first issues I worked on when I started working for ASA. And it had to do with the regulations relative to the 1990 Clean Air Act amendments. And the catchphrase then used for the independent automotive industry, repair industry, was service information. Service information. Well, now data access is the new service information. So data access is the catchphrase you're going to see over and over in federal legislation and also at the state level. So we need to watch legislation in Massachusetts and at the federal level to assure, if it moves forward, that it does what independent automotive repairers need it to do. And this will be a big issue in 2019 and 2020. Moving along, looking at New Hampshire, we have a bill. Actually, we'll have some committee activity possibly this afternoon, beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in the New Hampshire House of Representatives in the Commerce and Consumer Affairs Committee. And this tracks policy that ASA and the Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers proposed in August of 2018 at ASA's trade show in Atlanta, Georgia. And that is requiring states to mandate the use and that repairers be paid for using OEM, original equipment manufacturer, repair procedures, OEM repair procedures. This is all stemming from more interest in this area based on litigation we saw in Texas, concern that these procedures were being bypassed, and highlighting, profiling them. We've done it at through the Collision Industry Conference, ASA meetings, webinars with the OEs and aftermarket providers, the importance of maintaining OE repair procedures in the shops. So the New Hampshire legislation is the tip of the spear. We're going to see multiple states. Already states are working behind the scenes to draft legislation. This does not include parts, anything related to the use of parts. The importance of it is following OE repair procedures. So we look forward to more discussion about this. New Hampshire is one of the first bills, but we're going to see others. We had 3 bills introduced last year that got caught up with various issues, defining OE repair procedures, defining industry repair procedures, parts debate, and other items. But this year, you're going to see multiple initiatives at the state level that are narrow and address OE repair procedures only. New Hampshire's first out of the box. ASA submitted comments in New Hampshire recently to Commerce Committee Chairman John Hunt. And in that outlined important comments for the committee relative to repairs following these procedures, and honestly, an industry movement or shift in this direction. We've got multiple industry partners on this, from the OEs to Society of Collision Repair Specialists is involved with us, and we look forward to working with them more, and other organizations at the state level and local level. Next, I want to tell you a story of David and Goliath. And this is very important for collision repairers. And I want to stress this came up very quickly in the state of Wyoming. Now, Wyoming is not typically first in line on automotive-related legislation. Look at your automotive or heavy transportation states. You're likely to see these kinds of things pop up first, the larger metropolitan-based states. Wyoming had a bill introduced in mid-January, Senate Bill 0095. And this bill attempted to define national certification of aftermarket crash parts. Now, this is legislation that's been tried in multiple states over the years with little success. This bill is, if you think in terms of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration at the U.S. Department of Transportation, has rebuked any effort because of staffing and funding to develop certification programs for aftermarket crash parts or standards for these crash parts. Multiple meetings, ASA held shop demonstrations from Nevada to Virginia, outlining the importance of good quality safe parts to be used in the shops. NHTSA has gone the other way. Now, this legislation that has passed within 2 weeks, without enough collision shop input, has passed within 2 weeks, the state Senate, and now is being considered by the House of Representatives in Wyoming. Important for us, are critical questions related to this bill. What state agency in Wyoming is equipped to evaluate the certification standard of aftermarket crash parts? Who's determined that parts meet OEM standards? Who's going to determine that? Is it self-certification? Is it an industry group that pops up for hire without the professional staff to address these kind of matters? How does this protect the consumer? Why are we doing this? What value is it to the consumer? Does this assure that insurance rates are going down in the state of Wyoming? Any discussion about automotive crash parts invokes an examination of quality issues. More importantly, what has been the policy dialogue about vehicle safety as impacted by Senate Bill 0095? These are important issues that should require more than a superficial review. We said for a long time at ASA relative to our collision shops, cheaper and quicker does not assure a quality safe repair. So ASA opposes the Wyoming legislation. We're working with shops on the ground, paint distributors and others to stop this bill from going forward without more study, more review, and more input from stakeholders. Why in the world would you pass any bill that impacts the daily life of a collision shop owner and a vehicle owner who has been in a crash and dealing with all the things and stresses you have to deal with in repair after an accident? Why in the world would we try and push this through within 2 weeks? It provides no protections for shops in an environment where we're more and more concerned about litigation after the recent Texas case, and no protection for consumers. So this is a bill we need to stop in its tracks and then move on to other initiatives that be more positive for collision repairers and consumers in the state of Wyoming. I want to thank you for being with us today. We are going to do this periodically and update you what's going on at the state level and the federal level on important issues relative to collision repair shops and mechanical repair shops. There are huge long-term issues that we're dealing with daily here at the federal level, like data access and cybersecurity, and there are others. So we want to keep you informed and continue to work with you. We found at ASA that there's strength in numbers. We need more members. We need more members in additional states. We need states like Wyoming to become more organized, more engaged in advocacy and speaking up for important matters to policymakers, not just at the state level, but also federal representatives. So these are critical issues for us. ASA will be conducting a webinar on legislative issues on March 20th. You can go to our ASA website and sign up for the webinar. We'll talk then more about OE repair procedures, what's going on at the state level, and also look at some other issues that are very important at the federal level with some special surprise guests that we'll do a teaser today, but tell you a lot more about later. Again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to visiting with you again.